Greetings and welcome to the 73rd episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases, and as always, I'm your host Dark Elf Guy, and today we have another batch of 13 randomly themed mods for your viewing pleasure. And in today's episode, we have everything from new guilds and factions, to new gameplay features, dungeons, towns, and much more. And as always, before we get started here, you'll find down links, mod cleaning warnings, and timestamps for each mod down below. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with our popular mod of the week, which this week is MWSE Pursuit Revisited by SE Engineer 99. And now this is actually the third time that we've featured this mod. The first time was for the Mod of the Month video for August 2018, and the second time was for our Top 10 video for 2018, where we featured MWSE Pursuit Revisited as one of the mods of the year for just the sheer changes it makes to the gameplay of Morrowind. But for those of you who haven't, already seen all that, just other video footage out there, basically, MWSE Pursuit Revisited makes it possible for NPCs and creatures to pursue you across interior and exterior load cells, just like in other games such as Oblivion and Skyrim. This means you can't just run into a dungeon and run back out again to, regain some quick health. And now you'll be followed, and those creatures or NPCs that you were, fleeing from will track you down and most likely just hack your head off. Assuming, of course, that they don't get stuck on something. I mean, this is still Morrowind we're talking about. There's only so much mod can do to fix their just poor pathfinding and AI. And in any event, this just completely changes the way you play the game, and really makes the game a lot harder. And not just when, dealing with dungeons, but also with regards to crimes committed and, stealing things in towns and cities, as guards can now enter into your cells to arrest you, and to follow you back outside and chase you throughout town. And because this is a MWSE mod, it'll work with, all the mods like Tower Rebuild, Skyrim of the Nords, and Province Cyrodiil. So whether you're exploring the mainland, or ancient Durini ruins, or strolling through Cyrodiil, you'll always be pursued by your foes here. And one last thing to mention here, this mod also includes optional overhauls to a Divine and Omisi intervention, so that you'll need to be a member of the Imperial Cult or a Tribunal Temple for intervention to work here, and you'll need to attain high and high ranks to gain access to more interventions. But regardless, this is a pretty amazing mod, and one that really just helps to modernize Morrowind, and I would highly recommend just checking it out. And for our house mod of the week this week, we have the Astral Pocket by OperatorJack. And now, this mod adds a new book for you to find at your local bookseller, and upon reading it, assuming you have a high enough skill level in mysticism, it'll add a new spell to your inventory that you can cast to gain access to a new Astral Pocket. And this is basically a small cavern with a Telvanni house pod located over a pocket of lava. A naturally, perfect place to set up a home with a fiery death right below you. But anyway, you'll find an outdoor lounge here, with what seems to be a scuba den of some sort, and a note left by the previous owner. And basically, this house pod and the associated pocket realm are yours for the taking, and you can use a spell to teleport back here at any time. And just real quick, I should note that this is actually a MWSE Lure mod, quite possibly the only MWSE Lure house mod around, at least for the moment anyway. But just moving on, inside you'll find a small home with a bit of storage, a bed, some shelves to use, and that's really just about it. This is a fairly simple and cozy home to call your own, with a teleport spell, and it should be pretty much compatible with just about every other mod out there. And this is definitely an ideal home for wizards or mage type player characters. But anyway, this week's gameplay mod of the week is Equipment Requirements by Ramirez. And, well, basically, this mod does exactly what it says on the tin. It adds equipment requirements to weapons and armor in Morrowind, so you won't be able to just use a weapon or a piece of armor right away if your skill levels are too low. And this includes a new tooltip for weapons and armor, which, just shows you what their skill requirements are, with a red highlighting that you don't meet the current skill requirements, and green showing that you do meet the requirements, though this is probably just a bit obvious. And of course, once you do meet the skill requirements for a particular piece of equipment, like, say you cheat and set your skill level in the console window, this red text will turn green, showing that you can now use this weapon or a set of armor. And of course, this mod comes with a couple of different settings here that we can, just to see here in the MCM. And basically, you can set it so that you have to, actually meet the skill requirements for equipment in order to use it. Or you can set it so that even if you don't meet the skill requirements, you can still use that equipment but with increased penalties, including a decreased weapon and armor effectiveness. But first, let's just, demonstrate the first option here, where you can't use equipment that you don't meet the requirements for, and basically you just won't be able to, equip them at all. Now in comparison with the alternate option here, you can equip armor and weapons that you don't meet the skill levels for, but for example, with armor, you'll barely get any benefit from it with an average armor rating of just 1 or 2 points, and you also face a movement reduction, so you'll be slower when you have these items equipped. And this is a pretty, handy balancing mod that makes it so a level 1 character just can't go out and get an ebony sword and a new set of Daedric armor and just start killing everyone. And now there's actually, some skill involved, which arguably there already was in the base game, but this just improves upon it. And if that sounds like a good concept to you, this is definitely a great mod to check out here. And next, for our Dungeon Mod week this week, we have Sthomrond's Fort by Tal Shadow. And now, this mod adds a new Doom Ruin and a fort to the Grazelands. Or, well, basically the Grazelands. It's kind of hugging the border here. But anyway, you'll find a bridge leading to the fort proper. And as you should have come to expect by now, thanks to the just mystical sentient AI powers of Tal Shadow, this is just a pretty dramatic and awe-inspiring exterior, with a unique and one-of-a-kind design that uses only really vanilla assets, except for, the Doom statues here, which are indeed from a resource package. And in any event, you'll need to do a bit of fighting here before you can even access this Doom fort, as a number of Doom Centurions are still active and out patrolling the bridge and plaza in front of the fort here. But once past these humble guardians, you'll find that you'll be in for an even tougher fight inside, with dozens of Doom Centurions of just every variety and description patrolling the hallways here, and ready to put up quite a fight. I'd say most characters above level 15 will have a modestly challenging time here, though characters of a lower level might have, a few difficulties. But anyway, this dungeon is just beautifully detailed, including lots of clutter and untouched treasures, just waiting for an adventurer such as yourself to loot them for your own personal collection. And once again, Tal Shadow's just shocking AI abilities have been used to a great effect to provide a really just atmospheric and beautiful set of dungeons for you to fight through, with about 3 or 4 highly detailed dungeon interior cells for you to discover here. And this is really a pretty impressive looking dungeon, and a lot of fun to play through. So if you're looking for another dungeon delving experience, I just simply can't recommend this mod enough. And for our items mod week this week, we have new soul gems by UC. And this mod basically adds a new vendor to the Foreign Quarter Plaza in Vivek City that sells a variety of new and unique soul gems, coming in a variety of strange colors and designs, and ranging in price from 100 to a few hundred septims. Overall, there's about 28 new soul gems for you to purchase here, and each are really quite beautiful and unique looking, as you can see here. And we're just going to zoom in a little bit to get a closer look at these new soul gems. And some of them are just really nice, with some amazing looking gemstones and crystals, perfect for decorating your home, or, office, or mage's lair. And with 28 different varieties, you can really just spruce up the place quite a bit, as these soul gems really are just lovely, and, are certainly ideal for both wizards and non-wizards alike. Not only that, but this can also be used as a mod's resource. The author has given permission for these soul gems to be used in your own mods, so if you're looking for, something a little extra for your next modding project, you might want to consider using these. But anyway, this week's new quest mod of the week is the Guild of Vampire Hunters by Gavrilo93. And now, this mod adds a new guild headquarters to the lower wasteworks of the Foreign Quarter Canton in Vivek City. A guild of vampire hunters, with 3 new NPCs, each of which has some unique dialogue here. And in total, this guild has some 9 quests for you to do, which we'll get into here in a, just a moment. But first, one of the primary features of this mod is a bounty system for vampires, where you can turn in collected vampire dust for a reward, equal to the value of the dust itself. So about 500 gold per unit of vampire dust, which is, really a pretty good deal. You probably wouldn't be able to make that much from a typical merchant, at least not without some pretty high mercantile skills. But anyway, as I mentioned before, there's about 9 quests for you to do here, which mostly involves tracking down vampire layers in the vanilla game, killing them, and bringing back their dust, here for a reward. And I don't think this mod actually adds any new vampires or dungeons to the game, so you'll mostly be going to vanilla locations and killing vanilla NPCs. And for each vampire lair that you clean out, the guild will also task you with killing off a group of Malag Ball cultists, again using vanilla game locations and NPCs. And this is a good way to get pointed to some of the more just vanilla dungeon delving content that you may have missed, and also get rewarded for, clearing out vanilla dungeons. And all in all, this is a pretty simple and straightforward batch of quests, which in addition to just giving you more to do, should also be compatible with just about everything, including Morrowind Rebirth. So if you want an extra incentive to go out and kill vampires, you might want to check this mod out. Next up, for our Landmass Mod of the Week this week, we have the Tempest by Team Purest Pariahs and Tel Shadow. And this is actually the mod that Team Purest Pariahs planned to release for the second round of our Morrowind Madness competition, but just couldn't quite finish in time. Better late than never, I always say. And in any event, the team got some help from a landmass expert and a sentient AI pretending to be a human, Tel Shadow, who had designed the actual landmass here. And in any event, this is a rather interesting take on a landmass mod, for it's actually an alternate start to the game here, and also the charge-in or character generation process. And now, instead of loading up in the Imperial prison ship, you'll find yourself shipwrecked on a beach with your good friend, Jib, as soon as you start the game. And right away, you'll need to do a number of quests here to survive on this strange island that you've just landed upon. And each of these quests will introduce you to various game mechanics, sort of like a MMO tutorial island, if you will. And actually, it's really just incredibly similar to that, with a quest introducing you to lockpicking, sneaking, fighting with a sword, using a bow, and a bunch of other stuff. And it's far more, in-depth than the game's vanilla charge-in. But anyway, just real quick, we're just going to take a look at the map here. And you can see this new island, Pariah Island, is located north of Ardenfell and a bit northeast of Solstein. This will run into a few mod conflicts, perhaps most notably Aldendrace. But otherwise, it's compatible for the major province mods, like, Terra Rebuild. And just checking out the rest of the island here, Pariah Island is really a pretty scenic place, with just lots of detailing, mushrooms, long sandy beaches, and a rather unique-looking central Telvanni tower that plays a part in why you're, ship crashed here. Once again, Tel Shadow has really just outdone themselves with creating a beautiful landmass to check out and explore, made all the more impressive since, they were originally on an opposing team during the Morrowind Madness competition. So this is an entirely just different landmass that they've created in addition to the 2 landmass mods that they made for the Madness competition for, their own team. Which is truly just, more than any normal human could accomplish in just such a short amount of time. I'm not really sure who they're, trying to fool here. They should just come clean, as the sentient artificial intelligence that they clearly are. But anyway, between this scenic new landmass and the new quests, and just a unique approach to the charging process by Team Purest Pariah, there's a lot to like here, and, if you'd like a different way to start the game, this is a pretty cool mod to check out here. And for our NPC Mod of the Week this week, we have Companion Health Bars, MWSE Lewis script by Masafu. And alright, so this is really more of a gameplay mod, since it doesn't, actually add any new NPCs or creatures to the game here. But after playing with it for a while, I really just have to say that this is an absolute must-have mod for anyone using a companion of just any kind, whether just a follower from a vanilla Morrowind, or a companion mod, which is why I've categorized it as an NPC mod in today's video. But anyway, on to the actual showcase. This mod does pretty much what the title says. It adds companion health bars to the screen, off to the corner here, sort of similar to a lot of MMO games out there, which have the health bars of your party to one side, And obviously, these health bars show the current health of your companions, and they show up automatically as soon as you, add a new companion or a follower here. Like I say, you're doing an escort quest in Vanilla Morrowind. Whoever you're escorting will have their health displayed for you to keep an eye on, which is just extremely handy, because in Vanilla Morrowind, you really had no way of knowing whether your companions or followers were, close to death, or whether they were at full health, and they might just, die in battle, with you none the wiser. And really, Vanilla Morrowind was pretty awful at just, displaying health bar information, just in general. Those of you who remember the original release of Morrowind will remember that enemies and other hostile opponents also didn't have health bars in the base game, so you had no way of knowing how much damage you were actually doing. Thankfully, that was a change with the release of Tribunal in late 2002, but it just goes to show how bad Bethesda is at providing this sort of just critical information to the player. But in any event, back to the mod here. Each and every time you add a new follower or companion to your party here, their health bar will of course appear on the side of the screen, and it gets updated with any damage that your companions take, like say from an just errant cliff racer or what have you. And I don't know if there's really a limit on how many companion health bars you can have on screen. I managed to get half a dozen companions on here at once, though a few of those were actually birds from Abbott's Where Are All the Birds Going, which is just a rather comical accidental feature here. But that reminds me, because this is a MWSE Lua mod, it includes an MC menu, where you can adjust a handful of settings, like how long it takes for each health bar to update, as well as creating a blacklist for companions and followers. This way, if there's a companion or follower whose health bar you don't want to show up on the screen here, like say our helpful little bird friends here, we can just blacklist them, thus removing their health bars from the HUD. A rather useful little feature here. And again, because this is a MWSE mod, it'll work with pretty much every other mod out there, like companion mods, so you won't have to go through a bunch of dialogue options to figure out what the, health of your favorite companions are. Instead, you can just look at the screen to see how they're doing, which is just really handy for managing one or an entire party of companions here. And really, I can't recommend this mod enough. It really is, to my mind, just essential for anyone using any kind of companion. And anyway, moving on, this week's new meshes and textures mod of the week is Ingredients HD by Quoty. And now, this is a fairly small replacer mod that replaces the textures for about half a dozen ingredients in the base game, including frost and fire salts, ash and void salts, moon sugar, data hearts, and the various just different types of corpus meat. And this also includes model replaces for the frost, fire, ash, and void salts, just giving them a completely different and unique look here, which I must say are pretty just fantastic looking, at least in my humble opinion. I also noticed that the textures for corpus meat and data hearts are also pretty well done here, with a bit of an almost organic shine to them. Now, one thing to note here, this is a modular replacer package, coming in 4 separate downloads, so you can pick and choose which, if any, of these texture and model replaces you want, which is certainly convenient if you want just like, the salt replaces, but not the moon sugar replacer. And anyway, this is a pretty great, but again, small set of replacers to check out, and I'd recommend them if you're looking for some just minor visual enhancements for your game. And next up, we have our Mars Resource Mod of the Week, which this week is Nordic Chef MMM Resources by Team Nordic Chefs. And this is really just a bit of a mishmash of just various assets from Team Nordic Chefs, 2 mod submissions for Mod Mighty Madness, including new assets from the Reclamation of Hassaminus Mine, and the Battle Right of Mafala, both of which had a fair share of just new resources in them. This package includes such things as new building resources for ruined Radoran architecture, with broken down doors, blown apart towers, and holes where trees have just broken through the ceiling, among other things. There's about 4 new Radoran building assets here, and there's also some new 6-house style pillars and torch holders included in this package, as well as new wooden planks and platforms that can be used to create bridges or decorate the sides of caverns. But just moving on to some of the other assets that were originally from the Battle Right of Mafala, you'll find a new ship model here, which I think is a modified version of an existing modder's resource, with more ragtong symbols on the ship's sails here. There's also a number of new weapons, miscellaneous items, and potion resources, all of which comes with icons that you can use. Things like potion vials, broken shovels, table legs, and burnt books are all included here. And if you're looking for some just ruined architecture, or just, you know, other odd bits for your next mod, you might want to give this package a look here. And for our underrated mod of the week this week, we have the Museum Stronghold of Al Alma Mia by Hlalu66. And now, this is basically a house mod, but it's also a sort of a small settlement mod that adds a new old compound just north of Nissus, including a Siltrider port, a guard tower, and a manor house. There's also a nice set of gardens here, and you also find a number of outdoor merchants, including an armor merchant and a general goods trader, each of which have about 50,000 bartering gold, which is a bit on the cheaty side, but well, that's up to you if you want to take advantage of that. And anyway, inside the guard tower here, you'll find some additional services for you to use if you so desire, including both Imperial and Tribunal temple shrines, an alchemist, an enchanter, and also a sorcerer, and all of whom also provide training for leveling up various skills. But of course, the real meat of the content here is the new manor house, which is primarily meant as, well, you know, a museum stronghold, with dozens of bookshelves, tables, and display stands for you to use to, you know, just show off various items that you've collected during your adventures. Though this first part of your new player home does have a few of the more basic amenities, such as a dining room and a bedroom, with a number of crates and chests for you to use to store access loot. Now, the rest of this player home is dedicated pretty much entirely to showing off and just displaying whatever you want, with several large chambers full of museum stands for you to use here. And there's probably dozens of these scattered along the walls and chambers of this player home here, with more than enough space for anything you can imagine. If that's what you're, you know, looking for in a house mod, you might want to check this one out. And anyway, this week's Blast from the Past mod of the week is Sloth's Better Beast by Alien Sloth. And now, this is a mod that I've been meaning to showcase for a long time now, and indeed, it's probably been recommended to me at least a dozen times over the past 4 years, but I just haven't quite gotten around to it until now. And in any event, Sloth's Better Beast is a replacer mod for the Argonians and Khajiits of Morrowind, replacing the textures, adding better bodies, and also adding in a few new heads that you can choose from during the character generation process. And now, historically, Better Beast has typically been considered the best Argonian and Khajiit replacer out there, though it has received, you know, some competition in recent years with the release of ways Argonians and Khajiits redone by Macom. But still, just taking a look at the Argonians here, it's easy to see why this was, for years, the go-to replacer for the beast races of Morrowind. Notably, Better Beast takes a rather just a unique approach to updating the looks of the Argonian race, giving both males and females distinct skin colorings. The male Argonians are more just a reddish-orange, with notably scaly skin, as, you know, befits a reptilian race. Female Argonians, on the other hand, have a more just a greenish-blue color to them, with blue eyes and the same scaly skin. And it should be noted that Better Beast comes with two versions, one with typical reptilian looks, and one with regular male and female genitalia, and we're using the reptilian version here for just obvious reasons. But anyway, just hopping over to the Argonian mission in Ebonheart real quick, you can see a few of the, you know, NPCs here with the new Better Beast look, and unlike our player characters, they're of course fully clothed and presentable. And taking a look at the Khajiits next, both male and female Khajiits have a just striped pattern on the back with red and black stripes, but also with splotches of white along the front, including the chest, face, arms, and legs. And much like with the Argonians, this is just a pretty high quality replacer, and notably different in style from Macom's Khajiits redone mod. There's really not a whole lot of really good, you know, replacers out there for the beast races, and while recent mods might take advantage of some more, you know, just better visual effects, this is still a really high quality alternative for those wanting something different and unique. Just to keep in mind that even with the reptilian version, The Khajiits still have genitalia, and there is no underwear version here, only nude replaces. So this is obviously meant for just more mature audiences. But aside from that, this is a really great replacer to check out here. And finally, our bonus mod of the week this week is A Miss of Todd Howard by Chameleon12. And now this is a rather interesting and certainly unique mod that does one thing and one thing only. It replaces the Dark Brotherhood assassins in the game with, well, Todd Howard, who will sneak up on you while you sleep and assault you with copies of Skyrim, which have now been ported to every platform known to a man and myth alike, including Morrowind. Don't ask how, it just works. This just goes to show that it doesn't matter how far you run or where you hide, the prying eyes of Todd Howard sees and knows all, and he's coming for you, to take you back to Skyrim by force, and there can be no hope of escape. The next time you go to sleep, know that Todd Howard is always watching you, scum. So, sweet dreams, and may you dream of Skyrim. And so on that deeply disturbing note, that's the end of today's episode of Morrowind Modding Showcases. As always, down links are down below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.